I'll tell you the real purpose and the real reason why Arrival High was started. After talking to about 400 or 500 moms and dads saying, yeah, what a great life your daughter had, what a great life your son had, I realized that as an attorney, no matter what you say and how you say it, if you don't really believe it, it's not very convincing. My goal and purpose was to come out here and just tell you what I do day in and day out. You can take this information and ignore it on Saturday when you go to the prom. Or you can take this information and maybe change the course of someone's life. Because most of the decisions you make between now and graduation and prom are not going to have life-altering impact. But if you make this decision wrong, it will. Jason Penniger. All right, let me tell you Jason's story. Jason was riding with a friend who had gotten a new car. And the new friend had had a little bit to drink. He didn't realize that. And he decided to show Jason how fast this new car could go. Turns out it could go about 80 in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. And they went around a curve, didn't negotiate the curve, and matched up with something that looks like this. Jason's friend, I don't know if it was his best friend, but Jason's friend was responsible for his death. This is the fact pattern we get more often than not. Best friend driver drinking, responsible for the death of their best friend in the passenger seat. And if you think it doesn't happen, it happens more than I'd like to say. 25-year-old beauty queen, twin. I have a certain affinity for this case because I have twins. I have a 13-year-old, I have a boy-girl twin at 11, I have an 8-year-old girl who thinks she's 18. But Francie was with her boyfriend at a Halloween party. Boyfriend had been drinking way too much. They leave the party. Again, excessive speed, alcohol. I don't have to do the math for you. This is what's the result. Any of you that know anything about twins, her twin was about halfway across the country. When she died that night, her twin instantly had a feeling of complete morose and depression. She couldn't figure out why, but that's why. You may or may not be old enough to remember this case, but it was on the news for about a year. And it was about a Myers Park high school senior, 18 years of age, who went out on a weekend and partied with his friends and decided it would be a good idea to drive home, 485, not far from here, going the wrong way, going about 60 miles an hour, and Adele and Richard were driving the right way, and he crashes into him. The combined speed was over 110 miles an hour, and this is what was the result. At his funeral, I'll never forget, the father was really upset because he wanted an open casket. He wanted people to see and remember his son. And it was very hard telling him that what was in that box didn't look anything like his son. And finally, we convinced him that an open casket wouldn't be the way to go. That is Brock Franklin's Jeep, the 18-year-old Myers Park senior. So let me tell you what was going on that night. There was a group of seniors at every weekend. It was who's having the party, who's getting the beer, who's getting the drugs, where are we doing it? So here's what happens. They go to the party. There's lots of drinking. They're even ironically playing a drinking game called Circle of Death. No one ever heard this on the news, but when Brock Franklin left the party, he actually had 2 passengers. He had a 13 and 15-year-old boy that he was taking home. But they get in the car. He was their ride. And they immediately see this is bad, real bad. So they say to him, listen, Brock, you got to pull over. Pull over right here. we'll call my sister, one of the boys says. She'll come pick us up. In the morning, we'll come get your Jeep. No, I'm not doing that. And those two kids made the best decision of their lives. Had they not made that decision, there would have been 4 funerals, more than likely, instead of 2. But let me tell you about Brock. When they signed his yearbook, I'm pretty sure they didn't say, "Oh, I hope you enjoy spending the next 16 years of your life in prison." Because what they charged him with was 2 counts of second-degree felony murder. I didn't say vehicular homicide. I said murder. And the statistics don't do well for your demographic. The number 1 cause of death for 16 to 22-year-olds is automobile accidents. Not cancer, not disease, not shootings, nothing. It's automobile accidents. When you add the component of alcohol, statistically, you get from point A to point B not very often. So you should think about that. And maybe when you think about what you're going to do, have a strategy, have a plan. If you get in trouble, have an exit strategy. All right. Without any further ado, I want to present Peggy, who's going to tell the story of her son, Josh.
So I'm here today, not because I'm famous, not trying to get a reality show. I'm here today because I'm a mom. I'm here, more importantly, because I'm Josh's mom. That's my Josh on that end, holding that little kitten that's trying to get away. That picture of him pretty much tells you everything you need to know about Josh. He's the goofball. But that was Josh. He never liked to see people unhappy, and he loved to be surrounded by his friends. One thing about Josh is if he was your friend, he was a very loyal friend. If you got in trouble for something, he'd confess to it too, just so you wouldn't have to go through punishment alone. So I would try and tell Josh, I get it that you're young, everything's great, you're healthy, having a great life, things are going your way, but you've got to be careful out there. Unexpected things can happen. So one night, they're getting done work, and somebody says, "Hey, let's go around the corner and have a couple drinks." He's 18 years old. That's pretty cool, ain't it? His blood alcohol content was 0.22. They let my son get in his car to drive. I don't care if he wasn't even your friend. How do you do that? He passed a woman who said he flew by her like she was standing still. And he slammed into that concrete bridge abutment at over 70 miles an hour. That's my Joshy's car. It was January 25th, 2001. It was about 2:45 in the morning and our phone rang. They said, "This is Carolina's Medical Center. Do you have a son named Joshua Bennett?" No parent wants to hear that, ever. So he was in the ICU, and we went to visit him 4 times a day for 15 minutes at a time. That was it. So after 107 days in the hospital, he came home. He still had a trach. He had had some lung damage, and they were afraid he was going to stop breathing. He couldn't eat, obviously, so he had a feeding tube. After a couple of weeks at home, one day Josh was sitting in his wheelchair, and he reached up and he scratched his cheek. That was awesome. It was something he meant to do. His brain told him to do that, and he did it. So little by little, he started tracking, he started looking at people, he started reacting to what you did. We had one of the brain doctors that we followed with Josh, and every time we would go visit, he would tell all the other doctors, this is that kid I told you about. This is that kid that's just amazing. I want you to come see this kid, and I want you to see him today. We're lucky we have Josh. He was in a coma for about 5 months now. I'm guessing when you woke up, you just got up, started playing Dance Revolution?
No.
What'd you have to do?
Walk and talk and all that stuff.
All that stuff. Pay attention. Take care of yourselves. And take care of each other. You want to tell them?
Don't drink and drive. Be yourself, you're a people, and no good.
Now you can give them.
Peace.
They've done that for a few years at different high schools, and it's hard to do, to come and tell you about a bad decision that has impacted their lives forever. About 3 or 4 years ago, had an interesting event or occurrence at one of the schools I went to. And I really think it's kind of telling about whether or not we're making a change. So I was at a different school, not this school, and there were some kids in the back that thought everything I said was funny. Everything I said was humorous. So as you know, I walked up and I said, I'll start talking when you quit. And when I looked very carefully, I realized that sitting there was the largest human being I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I could see when I dressed him down, the steam coming out of his ears. And I was thinking, oh boy, this was a swift move, Mr. DeMayo. So I finished the presentation, and here he comes, walking down. And I'm thinking, that's going to be quite a headline on the Charlotte Observer. Arrive Alive attorney killed at Arrive Alive. Kind of ironic, don't you think? So I'm thinking, what is this guy going to say? So he walks up to me, and blocking the sun, and I'm looking up to him, and he says to me, Mr. DeMayo, this weekend, we were going to have a party. And there were going to be about 40 people at my place. And I was buying the beer. And I was buying a lot of beer. But I'm not going to do that anymore. And he turned around and walked away. And I went, ah. But we touched him. We got him. Who knows what would have happened that weekend if he hadn't listened. So she's right. Peggy is absolutely right. Take care of yourself. Take care of your friends. You have so much ahead of you. One dumb decision can change it all. So thank you very much. Congratulations on your upcoming graduation, and we wish you all the best in the future.